You won't believe what's going on in Atlanta's hip-hop and love scenes right now. There are rumors circulating like wildfire. The latest rumors have fans on edge, and whispers are devolving into complete mayhem. According to sources, the unexpected death has torn apart Kirk and Rasheeda's world. Furthermore, the drama that surrounds it is unprecedented. Family bonds are being put to the test. Friendships are disintegrating, and what had appeared to be a close-knit clan is now in danger of being completely destroyed. Insiders are disclosing information and implying betrayals that were unexpected. There is a claim that the family is split and long-standing connections are breaking down in ways that could alter the course of the game. According to others, tapes that show unfiltered, angry talks and fights that no one should have heard have come to light. Fans are demanding the truth, and rumors are rife on social media. The whole Atlanta hip-hop community is aflutter, even though nothing has been confirmed. We're going deep into the turmoil tonight. We'll examine the startling turns, the heartbreaks, and the astounding revelations that are rocking this family to its foundation. Hold on tight, because what is about to happen could completely upend all you believe to be true. Regarding the lives of Kirk and Rasheeda, it began as any other Atlanta night would. The streets are filled with the hum of automobiles and flashing city lights. However, a storm was building within Kirk and Rasheeda's house. Rumors regarding Thud's purported demise had spread like wildfire already. And despite the family's efforts to keep things normal, the rumors' impact was indisputable. There was anxiety in the air inside the house. For what was intended to be a peaceful evening, friends and family came together, found themselves abruptly thrown into a maelstrom of mistrust and doubt. Anxiety permeated every talk. Words could never express the weight of every glance shared. Like a pressure cooker on the verge of blowing up, the uneasiness was tangible. Then it took place. Tapes came up. Betrayals, heated fights, and leaked recordings exposed. No one outside the family could have predicted the magnitude of instability these tapes suggested. Thud's unfortunate death was being exacerbated by the rumors that surrounded it. Each and every segment of Atlanta's hip-hop scene seems to have its own version of events. Every single one is more explosive than the others. In the midst, Kirk and Rasheeda were making a valiant effort to maintain order, but they were deceived by their faces. A mix of incredulity, annoyance, and yes, terror. It was evident that what had started out as a private family issue was swiftly turning into a public spectacle. Their phones were inundated with messages. Fans cried out for clarification. And there was a frenzy on social media. Family members who used to joke together were suddenly having heated conversations within the house. Clipped tones. The kind of language that gave the impression that everything was precariously precarious. Conversations from those leaked tapes started to take over the evening as whispers escalated into heated fights. According to certain family members, there were a number of misunderstandings. Others alluded to more serious betrayals. Nobody knew the truth anymore. However, the tension was enough thick to be sliced with a knife. Friends who had come to help the family were suddenly on edge, not knowing whether to speak up or keep quiet. Then a voice, a yell of annoyance, cut through the commotion and demanded that the mayhem stop. "Why are we letting this get so out of control?" hovered in the air as the night went on, as feelings fluctuated wildly between quiet moments and violent outbursts. Secrets were revealed, accusations were made, and the situation's gravity increased intolerable. No longer was the mystery of Thud's supposed death merely a rumor. Every family member now questioned their part in it, making it the main source of conflict. There was a frenzied level of speculation. Who took part? What took place behind closed doors? And the anxiety grew just when it appeared that the storm would pass. Online fans analyzed each detail, dissecting each leaked video, and crafting stories so outrageous they might support a whole season of drama. Nobody knew if their world would ever be the same again, but Kirk and Rasheeda were left to pick up the pieces. The evening came to an end, because there were more questions than answers, and rumors of scandal, tragedy, and treachery were more prevalent than ever. The story is only getting started, and the stakes have never been higher. You won't want to miss this drama, so stay tuned. To overlook, you won't believe how out of control Atlanta's hip-hop and love scenes are getting. Fans are unable to turn away as what began as a murmur has grown into a full-fledged tempest. According to sources, Kirk and Rasheeda's the revelation has pulled families apart. The circumstances behind Thud's purported death are mysterious, and now their world's foundation is collapsing. Friendships are being questioned, allegiances are dissolving. And the formerly stable family dynamic is breaking down more quickly than anyone could have predicted. According to reports, the explosive material purportedly supplied by a person with knowledge of the events has sparked a betrayal fire, prompting concerns concerning loyalty, trust, and the question of whether people can still genuinely defend one another. This fire is being fueled by the released tapes. While some maintain that this is a misunderstanding, others are hinting that something much more sinister is involved. It's a struggle that was beyond the comprehension of anyone outside the family. Nevertheless, everyone is eagerly awaiting the outcome. Kirk and Rasheeda are under increasing pressure as the turmoil develops. Social media has become a battleground. Fans, bloggers, and influencers dissect every word said and every action performed, looking for hidden meanings in every post, comment, and emoji. The house that once represented coziness and warmth today feels more akin to a relentless reality show's stage, one in which public criticism clashes with personal grief. Additionally, as the night wears on, feelings fluctuate wildly between intense rage and unadulterated grief. The intensity is increasing with each rumor that is whispered. Rasheeda nodded in a composed yet impassioned voice. Pay attention to what we can control. The children in the family are reacting. The rest is simply noise. Fans kept speculating outside the house, analyzing every aspect, expressing sympathy, and disseminating conspiracy ideas. The house was now a miniature version of the turmoil that was taking place on the internet. With every household, the suspected involvement of a family member in Thud's purported death generated a complicated emotional web, with denial, anger, guilt, and terror entwining in ways that made even the most straightforward interactions tense. The member was feeling the weight of both the perceived and actual repercussions, the gravity of the situation, the alleged occurrences, the leaked tapes, and the public's voracious attention hovered over Kirk and Rasheeda, like an impending storm as they privately reflected in the few quiet moments they had. They understood that handling this crisis required careful control of the information flow in addition to managing their own emotions. The preservation of their familial ties was the top objective. Despite the outside world's constant scrutiny of their every action, the night closed in, trying to find tiny moments of peace with the family. Everybody struggled inside with the day's intensity. The tapes, the rumors, the speculation that went viral. It was a circumstance that was far more extreme than anyone could have imagined, and they were aware that a new day would bring with it emotional upheaval, unanticipated conflicts, and startling disclosures that would put their unity to the test once more. The tension in Kirk and Rasheeda's home continued to build for the next few days. Every encounter was still plagued by the lingering effects of the rumors and the purported videos. Family relatives relocated, being extremely mindful and cautious, not to say or do anything that would cause the storm outside to flare up again. Still struggling with the emotional burden of it all, the younger relatives relied largely on the grown-ups and one another for support. Disbelief and wrath alternated in hushed chats, but they were all seized by the urge to know what had really happened. Kirk talked privately with close friends and advisors for hours in an attempt to devise a plan that would strike a balance between public view of the necessity of maintaining family harmony. During one planning session, he said, "We have to anticipate every move," in a quiet, intense voice. Whether or not the rumors are accurate, people will nevertheless act as though they are. We maintain our advantage by managing what we can inside these walls. Rasheeda, who was just as watchful, managed her own group of confidants, making sure her kids felt encouraged while keeping a careful eye on buzz on social media. She was plagued by feelings of sadness, resentment, and protectiveness due to the suspected involvement of a family member in Thud's death. In private, she comforted her kids in whispers, telling them that their familial ties could endure any external pressure and urged them to remain resilient. Atlanta, meanwhile, continued to be a hotspot. Every bit of video, every expression, every mysterious post was analyzed by social media users, speculating on alliances, discussing motivations, and exchanging thoughts that ranged from realistic to fantastical. Fans were engrossed in the drama. An atmosphere of elevated emotions was produced by the intensive public attention, and the family was under more stress as they attempted to remain calm because the remark felt exaggerated. Inside the home, disagreements about how to interpret the leaked audio sometimes led to arguments. Siblings, cousins, and other relatives members were caught between the need to voice their truth, loyalty, and incredulity. Recognizing the delicate dynamics, Kirk and Rasheeda frequently intervened to maintain firm boundaries and ease tensions. An extended family get-together one evening that was supposed to promote harmony swiftly turned into a riot. Voices raised. When one relative argued with another about how they interpreted a leaked video, feelings overflowed the room. Grew thick with annoyance. Kirk stepped in between them with a composed yet authoritative demeanor. "We are not defined by rumors," he stated in a firm and unflinching tone. "Our household is more powerful than that," Rasheeda, who was standing next to him, said quietly. The emotional toll was despite their attempts to remain calm. "We focus on what we can control, and we remember that love and patience are our anchors right now." Indisputable. While some family members clung to one another and whispered comforts to one another, others completely withdrew and sought refuge in secluded areas. Rumors and the purported tapes had fostered an atmosphere where every encounter felt heavy, with meaning weighing heavily on even the most basic gestures. Over the next few days, Kirk and Rasheeda had to deal with the external narrative. They were aware of the public's they carefully constructed responses to address the worry without confirming or denying the unsubstantiated data, but they couldn't resist interest. "We can't allow the craze control how we act," Rasheeda reminded one evening. He told him, "We need to be intentional, considerate, and cohesive." During this time, the family was put to the test by a string of unanticipated conflicts. Friends and associates who claimed to have knowledge of the issue at the house. Every conversation had the potential to either increase or decrease tensions. With Kirk and Rasheeda at the center, conversations varied from emotional venting to strategic planning, negotiating each at night, when the home was quieter. Periods of introspection brought the entire weight of the alleged occurrences to light, and Kirk and Rasheeda sat together, tired but determined. As Kirk took Rasheeda's hand in his, he said, "We have to be strong," since they were worried about the consequences for their children, their extended family, and their public image. "This storm will pass, but only if we remain united. Our family is all that matters. Everything else is noise." Rasheeda nodded, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears. The purported videos continued to pulsate around social media. The intensity of the attention only served to highlight the necessity for the family to maintain composure both in their private and public reactions. As the conversation shifted from casual online banter to viral posts that analyzed every perspective, moments of humor appeared even in the middle of fatigue, as the kids played quietly in the corner and older relatives told tales of tenacity. Kirk and Rasheeda briefly found comfort in each other's company, finding strength in their relationship, while the storm continued outside. As the public's focus shifted and the immediate fervor subsided, Kirk and Rasheeda eventually turned their attention to healing, holding family meetings that focused on empathy, understanding, and strategic communication. Despite the ongoing discussion over the purported tapes, the family attempted to restore normalcy by reaffirming their love, patience, and dedication to one another. Each family member came out of the experience with a stronger sense of loyalty, resilience, and the understanding that their oneness remained their greatest strength in spite of outside influences. At the end of the day, Kirk and Rasheeda had to navigate the perilous waters of public rumors, scandal, and emotional strife. With careful mediation, strategic communication, and an unyielding dedication to family, they managed to remain calm and shield their loved ones. The situation only grew heavier as night fell, and the claimed tapes continued to dominate conversations. Every new family members went cautiously throughout the home. Each look, tone of voice, and reaction now a potential spark for the already raging fire of uncertainty, whether confirmed or hypothetical. Even the friends who had stayed to provide consolation found themselves in a state of emotional instability as a result of the never-ending maelstrom of speculation. The constant buzzing of phones, the flashing notifications, and the ticking of the clock, walking a tightrope, offering assistance while frantically attempting to stay out of the growing dispute. In the more sedate areas of the home, family members battled their feelings, each battling their own internal storm as they dealt with loss, rage, and uncertainty, with a low but forceful voice that carried the weight of urgency. Kirk summoned a private conference with his closest family members as the day wore on. "We need to handle this strategically," he urged. Rasheeda, sitting next to him, her face etched with fatigue but unyielding in her will to control our story within our family. Regardless of what is spoken outside, pacing back and forth, her determination, nodded. "At this time, nothing is more important than family unity. We must protect our children and each other," she continued. She spoke softly, yet powerfully. Beyond the house, Atlanta was a city in disarray. Blurred video, snippets, images, and hashtags were all over social media sites, and each one was more damning than the previous. Vibrant images were depicted by alleged insiders, some based on the tiniest facts, some of which were totally fictional, but all of them added to the tornado of drama that is currently consuming Kirk and Rasheeda. Tensions were high within the home, particularly among the younger family members who were finding it difficult to comprehend the scope of what happened. The atmosphere was one of fear, incredulity, and rage, as everyone attempted to comprehend not only Thud's supposed fate but also the family's possible role. Two relatives got into a furious argument at one point, claiming that one of the released clips was misunderstood. As their shouts increased in volume, they eventually filled the entire house. Kirk intervened, and the debate was silenced by his strong presence. His voice was gentle but firm as he placed his hands lightly on each cousin's shoulder. Who is right or wrong is not the point of this. The goal here is to preserve the family. We cannot be torn apart by outside talk. The tension persisted in the air even after he intervened. While some family members retreated and sought comfort in secret areas, others were engrossed in the never-ending cycle of speculation and analysis. The house's cozy walls now felt like a pressure cooker. The heat increases with each second. As the afternoon went on, a surprise guest showed up with a sense of urgency and yet another piece of leaked material. The group grew still, as they slid a phone over the table and murmured, "You need to see this." Their eyes darted anxiously across the room. The phone was the center of attention. The delicate peace they had labored so hard to preserve was being shattered by every new piece of information. Every nuance was examined, every feature studied. The visitor's disclosure just made things more tense. Family's already precarious emotional situation, fans proceeded to devour the videos on social media, leaving comments on each spoken word and facial expression, contributing to a story that seemed to develop with each new post. Every minute that went by increased the emotional toll on Kirk and Rasheeda. They had to contend with a relentless media storm in addition to the burden of family strife. As night fell, the strain grew too much for a smaller cousin, who started crying. The burden of it all overwhelmed Rasheeda, who was always the one to step in and soothe her, hugging her close and reassuring her in whispers. "We'll obtain through this together," she muttered, using words of prayer and assurance. Kirk, who was watching the scenario, felt powerless as he understood that the consequences of the rumors, the purported tapes, and the never-ending conjecture were extending well beyond the family's adults. With the children and younger relatives internalizing worries that could leave them permanently scarred, he looked over at Rasheeda,